Today on the Spiritual Bypass Hour, I have lost my voice. But no worries, because we are going to listen to the most melodic, sweet, nourishing voice of musician and singer and Jewish composer Rena Branson. She is so fun, she's so deep, and we're going to hear all about her Jewish spirituality, which is something near and dear to my heart. You guys, I am so excited to introduce to you Rena Branson. Rena saw my comedy show at my friend Elon Friedenson's house in Asheville, North Carolina last year. Elon posted your song. I felt like this is the song that gives me permission to do what I want to do, which is nothing. And that's a lot of the time. Rena is a Jewish composer, and she's a ritual leader, which I feel in your music. And she's also an educator who uplifts personal and collective healing through song, which is totally who you are. I can feel it. I experience it. She writes music for prayer and action that accompanies people through vulnerable moments. Yes. Rena has recorded 2 original albums. One is Love is the Ground, which totally gets stuck in my head, that song, and In Doing and Dreaming. And she lives on Cherokee land in Asheville, North Carolina. And I am so honored to welcome you. Give it up for Rena Branson, everybody. Now, please tell me, how did you write the song Fetal Position? Because it is like, it's my theme song right now. It gets stuck in my head. I listen to it and I share it with all my friends. All I want to do is sing this song, and it feels like the theme song to this podcast. And it's hilarious. And you're so funny and honest and real and so soothing. Like, I feel like I'm just being sung a lullaby every song. So now I'll let you respond.
Thanks, Alicia. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm very honored to be here. So yeah, happy to tell you about the story of Fetal Position. It was when the Omicron variant of COVID hit. I think it was like January 2021 or something. And yeah, it was like things had started to kind of reopen. I was living in Philly at the time, and I was in the process of recording my first album, and we had like recording sessions planned. And then all of a sudden it was like everything was getting canceled again. Everyone had COVID that I knew. And yeah, it just seemed like we were kind of going back into lockdown vibes. And I wrote this song that was just like kind of bringing humor into my experience of utter despair and terror at the time. Yeah, the song is just like, the chorus goes, I just want to stay in fetal position. I just want to stay in fetal position. I don't want to make a single decision. I just want to stay in fetal position. And then I created these verses that are just about like all of the really healthy, wholesome things that I don't want to do, like meditate or like cook myself a nourishing meal. Yeah, I was just not, I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. So I just sang a song about how I didn't want to do that. Yeah, that's the story.
I love it so much because it's like we know what we need to do, and sometimes we don't want to do it, and sometimes just laying down is enough.
Yeah, I think I like to now dedicate this song to all the people who feel like they're here to break the cycles of intergenerational trauma and heal all the stuff that our ancestors, they did their best, but they left us with a lot to clean up. And yeah, that like it can be very exhausting to be in that work of trying to heal ourselves and heal this world every day. And some days you just gotta tap out. And that's why it's so important that we're in it together, because someone else, God willing, is gonna pick up your slack when you're having that day, and then you can step back into the public realm when you're able. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like having been on a, a journey of non-duality and a journey toward the place of less and less and less doing, and having, you know, for since I was probably in high school, started doing healing work, deep sessions of every modality in every kind of way, and every possible kind of work that could be done. Not that I did it perfectly or sometimes very well, but just a lot of personal growth and spiritual growth work. Um, so tired of it. I'm so tired of it. And it's so nice, you know, in the non-dual space to just go, yeah, okay. Everything's good enough. I don't have anywhere to get to anymore. And that song, like with so much humor, brings all of that to like, there's something about the permission of it that I don't know how to quite put words to it, but the permission that your song gives is like, it's a transmission. It's a very embodied transmission, and it's a surrender, and it's playful and grounding, and it's as if the work is being done through the surrender.
I love that. I love that. That brings a whole other dimension to the song. Yeah. Thanks for seeing that
Yeah,
and sharing that.
yeah, yeah. And I like the ending, the fetal, fetal, fetal. I can't do it, but maybe you
Fetal,
can.
fetal, 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 fetal position.
Yeah, so good. Tell me more about your musical journey.
Yeah. So I have musicians on both sides of my family, going back multiple generations. When I was 4 years old, my mom sat me down and told me it was time to pick an instrument. And I really wanted to be like my older cousin Brittany, who played violin. So that was what I chose. Um, in hindsight, I have some regrets because it is very easy to make a violin sound very bad. And I like am jealous of people who play instruments with like keys or frets or where like your finger lands in a spot and the note that you want comes out. It's like a little bit harder to find your way on a violin.
I could never imagine how you do that. Like it's not a, you know, it's the opposite of say a handpan. Like
Yeah.
note, note, note. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, I was not very good at it, I will be honest, but it did give me a foundation in music that I'm very grateful for, even though like the practice over those years was kind of torturous and I have some like I've picked a bone with my mom about how she pushed it on me in a certain way, but I am ultimately very grateful that she encouraged me to do that um and held me accountable to it. I think it really is why I'm doing the work that I'm doing today, honestly, even though I don't play violin, haven't played violin really since I was 17. I'm thinking about picking it back up though, trying to learn klezmer fiddle because the whole classical music thing was really difficult and not very much for me about creative expression. It was just like this whole perfectionist anxiety spiral. Um, but yeah, I want to connect to more ancestral ways of playing it and more kind of playful, curious exploration with it. Um, but yeah, singing was not a big part of my childhood. We would go to synagogue sometimes on Friday nights or Saturday mornings and on the high holidays. Um, and I would sing at synagogue, but I wasn't like I didn't identify with my singing as like a part of me or something that I did.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do remember in second grade I wrote the first song I can remember writing, which was a jingle for a pretend cereal brand called Sugar Booger, and I made my friends like at recess do this whole like Sugar Booger commercial with me in the jingle. It went, have a sugar booger, they're yummy in your tummy. Boogers with natural sugars added onto them. Um, yeah, that was my
So
foray into the music world.
you're doing humor like from the very beginning, right? I mean, this
I
is
guess so, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't really till I was an adult and starting to reconnect with Jewish practice on my own terms after college. I started going to Friday night services um, and realized I had just kind of been in like a spiritual black hole for most of my high school and college years, and that I was like so yearning for some tradition and like, yeah, something to anchor in. And I found such comfort and nourishment and healing through these Shabbat services that I found in Brooklyn, just like lay led, like there was no rabbi. It was just like people taking turns leading the song and ritual and like always a potluck. And um, yeah, it was really through that that I started to just get reflections from the outside. Like people just sitting around me were like, oh, you have a lovely voice. Or like, it was so great to like sit next to you in that service. And I was like, really? And there was part of me that was like, oh,
Tell me more.
like maybe this is a thing. And yeah, and I just loved being there so much that I just kept going back until like when I first started going, I never knew what page we were on. I was like very disoriented and didn't know most of the melodies. And then like I just kept showing up until it was like all very familiar and very like just in my body. And then yeah, eventually I started getting invited to lead and then like yeah, had this whole beautiful unfolding where I wound up meeting so many different amazing composers and song leaders and prayer leaders and wound up doing a full-time Jewish music residency in Philadelphia. That was what brought me to Philadelphia in 2019. Um, and yeah, got to study with someone who had been kind of like a hero, far away hero person to me. His name is Joey Weisenberg, and learned with him full time. And um, when the pandemic hit, we shifted from this like collective co-creation of music to more independent composition because that was just what we could do at that time. And it was really the support of that container and having the like creative prompts and like share back time um, that got me deeper into songwriting. And then I just really ran with that and got so excited and was like, oh my gosh, I love writing music. It feels so magical when songs just like come through. And almost always what I receive is like exactly what I need. And then I'm like, somebody else probably also needs that. So let me try to share it. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And so your journey with music, I'm so curious how it's overlapped before, under, after with your healing journey. What I'm what I make up is that you have knowing that you're friends with my friend Ilan Friedenson, who has a deep set of embodiment practices and healing practices. You're what comes through in the transmission of your songs is so much of this healing work. Where did that come from? Why did that arise in your life? Can you share more about, what are some of your practices and what led you to them?
Yeah. Wow, there's so much I could say. I'm just going to pause here and listen. So I grew up in a family of Jewish mental health professionals.
Where
in New
were
York
you?
City.
New York City. Okay.
And um, yeah, my grandparents were both born in Brooklyn. Each of their parents had lineage from a different Eastern European country. Um, and yeah, maybe I'll name them. I've got people from Romania, people from Belarus, people from Poland, people from Russia. And of course, like the borders of all these places were constantly shifting, but like broadly Ashkenazi Jews. Um, and
Same here.
yeah. And I think um there's a way that how I see things spiritually is like my soul signed up for all of the things I've experienced in my life to learn all the lessons and to like play a certain role in this broader whole picture of interdependence where we each have a role. And yeah, healing has just been part of my soul's work in a very clear way from the beginning. There's just a way that I feel like I didn't know I was a healer as a child, but like people everywhere always like confided in me, adults, other children. Like I was like, I don't know, just really someone who bore witness to others' suffering. And it's taken a long time for me to like learn how to really look towards and tend to my own pain. Because I've been such a like caretaker empath always. Um, Continuing to learn about the boundaries and the self-care. But I think also being raised in a family with so many mental health professionals. My grandfather was a psychoanalyst. Um, he like grew up so poor in Brooklyn. His mom was a pianist, and his dad was the president of the Painters Union, and like a socialist, like gave speeches on the street kind of guy, but he died when my grandfather was 13. So then his mom during the Great Depression was a pianist with three sons. And yeah, my grandfather wound up uh, joining the Air Force in World War II and then got the GI Bill and was able to get a college education and then go to grad school. Actually, he changed our last name from Abramson to Branson to have an easier time getting into grad school. Apparently he like sent in applications with the name Abramson and didn't hear back from anywhere and then changed his name to Branson and like got a bunch of acceptances. So,
Wow.
um, yeah, he wound up working as a psychoanalyst and then my mom became a psychologist. I have an uncle who's a psychiatrist and an aunt who's a social worker. So there's just a way that I was raised to always be kind of like looking at people's behavior and like trying to understand what was going on for them. And yeah, there's a lot that I have parted ways with about like that whole particular like pathologizing way of seeing and like putting people in boxes. Um, but and also I do feel that that shaped my consciousness in a deep way, just like how I see myself and others. And um, yeah, and then how music flowed into the healing. I think when I was in college, so I went to Oberlin, which has a conservatory. I was not in the conservatory, which I had a big chip on my shoulder about. I was in the college, and I was like, those are the real musicians. I'm like not a musician. Um, I was so yeah, I was so disconnected from any kind of spiritual or ritual practice at the time, except that I would just go to concerts, like as if it was a call to prayer. Like I was just at all different experimental music, hip hop, so many different shows all the time. And also I was dancing a lot. And I didn't know that that was medicine for me, but it really was in a time of really, it was really a hard time for me, um, for so many reasons. And yeah, when I graduated and then started going to Shabbat services like I was sharing before, I think um, it was really just I was just showing up where I was being led and called, basically. Um, and I didn't have the language yet that like this was I was on a healing journey, but I deeply was. Um, and then discovering Nigunim, which are these wordless, primarily wordless, not all of them are wordless, but primarily wordless devotional melodies um, that emerged from the Hasidic world in the 18th century that have been passed down just from person to person, like without being recorded. Now there are recordings, but for a long time it was just like from like a very embodied transmission. Um, and experiencing the power that these wordless melodies had to kind of like melt away ego and ideology and connect a room of people in this one kind of shared pulse. Uh, that was very transformative for me. And that came into my life, yeah, around that same time, my first year out of college. I was working at this organization called Footsteps that is for people who grew up in ultra Orthodox Jewish communities, like super insular communities. Some of them didn't grow up speaking English, they spoke only Yiddish. Um, and then were choosing to kind of, yeah, their life path had diverged from whatever their families and communities were expecting of them. Some of them chose to actually continue living in those communities and just like secretly come to Footsteps to like connect with other like-minded people. Um, some of them wound up totally leaving those communities and building their own lives separately. But there was this magic in the Nigunim, these melodies that some of the people who were coming from a Hasidic background carried with them that, yeah, was very, very potent and very appealing to me. And that year I met my father for the first time. And he grew up in the Soviet Union until he was like 14 or 15, escaped with his mother to Jerusalem, and then like wound up after a childhood under forced assimilation, later gravitated back into the religious fold and now is like black hat, long beard, the whole thing, lives as a Hasidic Jew in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Um, so I met
Would
him that
you
year.
share, would you share with us how you hadn't met him yet?
Yeah. So my mom is gay. She raised me as a single parent, and the way that she conceived me was she met my dad in when she was playing French horn in the Jerusalem Symphony. Um, he is also a musician and was there. And
What what does he play?
he's a pianist and a composer. Yeah. I don't want to give too much identifying information because he
Yeah,
is in a deeply religious community where, like, even the fact that I am his child is not actually public information. So, um, yeah, we met for the first time at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City because I was like, if we have nothing to say to each other, at least we can look at the art.
oh,
Um, and part of why I chose to move back to New York after college, I went to school in the Midwest, was that I wanted to find him and meet him. And I found his website, which said that he lived in New York. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. My whole life I thought that you lived on the other side of the planet, but you actually lived a subway ride away from me my whole childhood. That's fascinating. Um, yeah, so wound up meeting him when I was 22, and we have very different worldviews. That's like an understatement. And I'm also queer. That's not super kosher by him. Um, so there have been many challenges along the way in building a relationship, but singing Nigunim together is just really blissful and yeah, was really healing in our relationship, and just like experiencing the way that singing these melodies together can kind of melt away anything that separates people from each other, and just to kind of meet in this, I picture it as like an open field of light, like our souls are just meeting there. Yeah, that practice really inspired me to want to share with as many people as possible the medicine of this particular stream of musical tradition that has been so contained within these super insular Hasidic communities, but that I feel has so much healing potential just like broadly on our planet. So,
Would you share a Nigunim?
Nigun, Nigun is the singular, Nigunim is plural. Um,
Plural.
yeah. Okay, let's see. I know. I'll sing you the first part of one that is on my most recent album. It's called Der Beinani, which means the one who is in the middle. And it's attributed to, it was written by Reb Aharon Charatanov, but it's associated, I just feel like as a like Nigun nerd, I have to give you the context. Um, it's sung in the Chabad Hasidic community in honor of the Friedecker Rebbe, who I'm forgetting if he was the fifth or the sixth. I think the fifth Rebbe in the Chabad dynasty. But there's like, yeah, there's a lot of like kavod, respect given. Like whenever you share these melodies, you like say where they come from and who they're connected to. So, um,
Can can you explain a little more what it means, what the one in the middle means?
yeah, so it's actually coming from a moral concept in the Tanya, which is the foundational text of the Chabad movement. Um, and the idea is it's a little bleak, but I see I see different ways to interpret it that resonate for me. Um, on its face, though, what it says is there's three kinds of people. Okay, in the world, there are three kinds of people. One is the Reshaim, the wicked ones, who are both constantly tempted to transgress divine will or like what is right. And in addition to being constantly tempted to do so, they also actually do it. Then, okay, then there's the tzaddik, who is not only never tempted to transgress, but also never transgresses. Then there's the Beinani, the one in the middle, and this is the one we're all supposed to aspire to be, who still is tortured and tormented by the desire to transgress, but doesn't do it. And how that lands for me is like, yeah, on this journey of consciousness and healing, I become aware of many patterns that I am carrying. And they're still pulling on me all the time to do them, these different compulsions. But I'm going to try to not do them. Like, wouldn't it be great if one day I don't even experience the desire to do any kind of self-sabotaging behavior? That would be awesome. But in the meantime, I'm still having those patterns come up, but I'm going to just try to notice with compassion and just be with that impulse and just not do it. Just not let that little one have the driver's seat in that moment. So that's how I relate to it.
I feel really moved by it, that idea. Like, I don't know, just hearing you describe it, I feel moved. And it's like, oh, it's so human. It's so human. It's sort of, to me, like calls on these ideas, these lofty ideas of, where black and white, the black and white thinking of, the people who are just bad and the people who are just good. And I mean, if we're all just good, then what's the work we've done to choose that? If we're just a tzaddik, like beautiful, but it's a kind of innocence that isn't hard earned. It's a kind of, it could be shallower, and perhaps you come to that moment when you are tempted in some way and you've never been tested and haven't had moment after moment of practicing to like see the temptation or whatever that looks like, and work through your saying no to it. I don't know. It's so beautiful, the one in the middle. When we talk about it, I've done a lot of 12-step recovery, and in recovery we talk a lot about the idea of like progress, not perfection, and we wouldn't be in this place if we didn't have something to offer. Some like we had to go through all of these struggles in order to get the gold. And so I can't wait to hear this nigun. Wow. Okay. Anything else you want to say before any other intros?
Just that I think Der Beinani, the one who is in the middle, can also be understood as one who dances with complexity and contradiction. Yeah. I'll just sing you the first bit of it, and you can listen later if you want. I think it's track number 13 on my album. I want to give a shout out to Chana Raskin, who's a very beloved friend and teacher, who grew up in the Chabad community in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and taught me that melody. And I had the pleasure and honor of recording an album with her and a group of other women. It's called Capella by Raza, R-A-Z-A. You can find it, but it's just all these Hasidic melodies that traditionally were only sung by people living as cis men. I say that because you never know how they might feel about themselves, but that's how they were living. Um, and yeah, it's been this really beautiful reclamation uh, to be part of this album recording and this project of Raza that's about people assigned female at birth getting to rock out these old, very sacred, beautiful melodies and do so publicly, which is very new.
How new is that?
I mean, this album we recorded just a couple of years ago, I think in 2022 in the summer we recorded it. But yeah, in Hasidic communities today still um there's a Jewish law. It's not in the Torah. It's like from later rabbinic literature, it was this law was derived that says that women's voices are like tantamount to their nudity, to our nudity, and like shouldn't be revealed um except in the to basically if you're a cis man, you're not supposed to hear anyone assigned female at birth singing unless you're their direct relative, or if there's more than three of them singing at a time, there's like some leeway. But like you're really just not supposed to hear women singing, basically. It's like too arousing.
It's pretty beautiful and amazing and intimate to hear someone sing.
Yeah. I'm like, there's something there, but I hate how it is silencing to so many people.
Totally. No, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I'm saying like
It is
I
attuned to the
understand.
power. Like it's acknowledging there's something powerful
Yeah.
there, right? It's not
Yeah,
saying like
totally.
this is small and weak and stupid and it's like this is extremely powerful, so we need to be careful.
It's too much.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing that these things are shifting and to be part of that. It's beautiful to share your voice with more people.
Yeah.
My stepmom is a rabbi, and I'm proud to be at least symbolically in her lineage and to experience to be part of the updating and transforming of our tradition, and that to say like we have so much to contribute, and it's a beautiful path for all people to get to share.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be alive in this time with everything that is so excruciating about it. There's also a lot of possibility and creation emerging from the destruction.
Speaking of which, what are you up to now?
I'm involved in starting up, helping support a kind of burgeoning Jewish community in Asheville. It's called Or Harim, Light of the Mountains, and it's basically a bunch of earthy, hippie Jews who don't, for many different reasons, are not interested in um, the institutional Jewish life of the city, but want to be connected to community in different ways. And that's feeling really exciting. We, for the last few years, there have been the folks who like originally seeded this idea have been doing, Kohenet Alana Brody has done a lot of leading. Um, they've been doing Yom Kippur services outdoors, and I just joined and helped lead some of the ritual this past year, and it was so beautiful to just like be outside in the mountains all day on Yom Kippur singing, and people built a fire, which my dad would have been horrified by. You're not supposed to make fires on Yom Kippur, but it was great. um, and I'm also getting ready to record in a few months with my friend Dwight, who records under the name Sterling Duns. He is an experimental hip hop artist, among many other things. He also is a clown and does all kinds of conflict transformation work. And yeah, just amazing facilitator and organizer. We're going to record an album together. We've never recorded like a full project together. We did a couple of tracks, one that's about Black Jewish solidarity, and one on my last album, Face It, is the song that he has some vocals and he made a beat on it. But yeah, I'm excited to venture out of a lot of my music is like in the Jewish realms. Obviously, the song Fetal Position is not specifically that, but a lot of my music is using Jewish text and liturgy and like melodic modes and these sort of ancestral palettes of sound. And this is going to be a totally different project. He's going to rap and I'm going to write some choruses and verses, and it'll all be broadly connected to just like facing what is so unbearable and ugly in the world right now, and also like supporting people with spiritual sustenance in these times, and like encouraging ourselves and each other and everyone listening to keep aligning with who we are meant to be and what we're meant to be offering, and to just like try to stay grounded and focused on that rather than getting swept up, as it is so easy to be swept up in what is wrong and not good, and let's just all be miserable. Yeah, so I'm excited about that project. And I feel like there's other things cooking. I'm starting to host more retreats. I've been doing a lot of touring these last few years, and I love that. And I want to bring more people to me. I love being here on Cherokee land. It's so beautiful. I love the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I'm just like want more people to come sing with me here. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I'm leading a meditation retreat in a couple of weeks with a friend, Ayla Zacharin, and it's called Between Song and Silence. So there will be a sort of seamless flow of silence and these nigunim and other kind of prayer melodies, but no talking. That's our intention. So, I mean, we'll talk to facilitate and teach, but participants will not be speaking.
Zip it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. That sounds like, and it's going to be how many days?
It's going to be 3 days, 3 nights. Yeah. So 3.5 days.
Out in nature?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got a little mountain lodge we're renting.
It sounds like you're building such an amazing community and a set of relationships there that are nourishing and grounding. And I could just, that's the word that keeps coming for me, is like grounding.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that life plopped me here. A few years ago I just would not have expected to live here. Yeah, I thought I was going to be in Philly for a long time. Then, yeah, fate has had many twists and turns, but I love being here so much.
What drew you there? How'd you find yourself there?
Oh boy. Well, I was living in Philly, and then I knew I wanted to connect with. So my dad has 4 other children who I So I met him when I was 22, and I still had not met his other children. They're adults and were born and raised in Israel. And
I'm just dying to know. I lost the thread because I interrupted you earlier, and I'm so dying to know. You were about to say the whole story. You're about to tell us the story, and you said your mom is gay, and you said they're both musicians, and they met in Israel, and then what happened? How did it happen? I really.
okay, here's the thing. Both of my parents are very private people, and neither of them is like particularly proud of this time in their lives. It did lead to my existing, which they were both very pleased about. Um, I feel like the most respectful thing I can say is just like my mother wanted to have a child and he helped her.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like it was closed. Like, oh, there was this whole story I was about to get, and then I missed out on it. So thank
Oh,
you.
yeah. No, there is very much a whole story, but it doesn't quite
Okay.
feel like mine to share. Um, I applied to do a year-long fellowship based in Jerusalem in 2023. I moved there at the end of August 2023 and was planning to be there for at least a year and was like hoping to, yeah, get involved in solidarity work on the ground, get to know my four half siblings, and just do a project about intergenerational trauma healing. And I made it 6 weeks. And then after October 7th, a few days later, I left. And I had sold my bed and had a goodbye party in Philly and was like really done with that chapter, didn't want to go back there. I'd also been planning to be abroad for the year. So I was like, let me go. And the fellowship I was doing, they gave us all of the funding for the year and told us to leave the country as soon as possible. So I had this kind of,
After October 7th.
yeah, I had this kind of like,
Can we? Can, I have a question.
yes,
Did you meet your siblings?
that's a really relevant and good question. Yes. So my half sister, I love her, Odelia. She picked me up at the airport the day before my 31st birthday. And we had a really beautiful 6 weeks getting to know each other more deeply. I mean, we'd already been connecting over WhatsApp for the last like year and a half before that, but it was so magical to be together in person. And then I have three half brothers, and I met two of them. The last one had just had a baby, and I was like, I want to meet you, but like gonna give you a little more time. And it just didn't wind up happening, but I'm sure at some point I will meet them. Um, yeah, the two half brothers who I did meet, um, it was just like a little bit more brief encounters, but extremely sweet. Yeah, I feel very lucky. I have very wonderful family, truly. Yeah. Forget why I was telling you any of that. Oh, how I got to Asheville. Yeah, it's been a real adventure. So I wound up going to Costa Rica because I had this fellowship funding to do healing work through dance and movement. And there's um, another Jewish woman from New York who's an expat in Costa Rica who's a dance movement therapist and a Hebrew priestess and just like earth witch lady, and found her on Instagram and was like, I want to go dance with you in Costa Rica. My life is falling apart. The world is falling apart. So I went to Costa Rica. And after like 3 months, um, I went back to the States to celebrate my grandmother's 95th birthday and was trying to figure out what to do next. And I have a friend in the Asheville area who was like, why don't you come check it out down here? Um, and long story short, I sublet a room for a month. I loved it. And I decided to move down 3 weeks before Hurricane Helene like wiped out the city. Almost exactly a year after I had evacuated from Jerusalem. I evacuated from Asheville, went back to Costa Rica, and then came back to Asheville a few months later when things were a little bit, when there was like potable water again. And I've been here since.
So, a lot of present day healing to do. Never mind the childhood mining of whatever traumas from your childhood, but like,
How I've seen it. So I was also in New York on 9/11, and there was a little while where I was just like, had a very like victim mentality about like, why am I in all these places where horrible, scary things are happening? Yeah. That are like all fallout from just like this world order not going well, um, systems collapsing. And yeah, where I've sort of landed with it is like I've always been at in the perfect place at the perfect time to surface all this ancestral stuff about like lack of safety and home, um, and just yeah, to bring it all up to the surface to get to finally clear. And I've done a lot of clearing, a lot of plant medicine help. Thank you, plant teachers. Um, yeah, a lot of clearing of all of that. And I think we're done with those experiences. I think we got the lessons. I'm like open to whatever's coming, but I feel like we're good on that front, on the like, yeah.
on the disaster front.
Yeah.
Would you say plant medicine is one of your main healing modalities?
I would say, yeah. At this point, my primary sort of healing practices in my life are meditation and yoga, which I do every morning, and sitting with grandmother medicine. That I just got introduced to after the hurricane. Um, I was like, I need help, and help came. Um, yeah, and music, of course, continues to be a through line for me in my healing. Yeah. I feel also curious to see what else will enter. I'm just like, there's so many amazing healing technologies, both ancient and new, emerging. And Asheville is a really great place to live to explore a lot of them.
Amazing. Amazing. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you have been wanting to share about?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess another really important part of my healing is deepening my relationship with my ancestors, not just through practicing rituals that they passed down to me, but through like directly speaking with them. Um, and a few years ago, I took a Jewish ancestral healing course that was sort of my introduction to communicating with the spirit world. And at the time, I was very like, very skeptical and very like, how how is this not like this just seems like one part of my brain talking to another part of my brain. Like I couldn't really trust that I was having any sort of actual interaction with a being in the beyond. Um, yeah, until I just started receiving information that I just couldn't have possibly thought of myself, which was very scary and bewildering, but also exciting and intriguing. And for the last few months, I've been studying mediumship in Asheville with this really wonderful teacher and medium, Robin Michelle. Um, and yeah, just continuing to deepen my own practice of like tuning in and asking for guidance and support, um, from my ancestor guides and other loving, wise spirit guides, and just had a really sweet conversation with the tree in the woods before this call. Um,
What did the tree say?
oh my God. Okay. I,
What kind of tree was it?
I don't know what kind of tree this was. It was very nubby and it spoke to me with this like just wildly silly voice. I can't try to imitate it. It just like kind of beckoned to me and I was like, okay. And I like was like, okay, what's up? And it told me this feels like really embarrassing. But I guess probably whoever's already listening to this far is probably still with me. Um, yeah, it basically was encouraging me to um like bob up and down on my feet and like focus on like the sensation in my lower body and was just like encouraging me to do that more often. Um, uh-huh, yeah, that was most of what it told me. I was like, okay.
I have a lot of friends who tell me about conversation, or I'm in the woods and my friends are talking to trees, and often they're like very interesting conversations. It's not just like it's like it's a whole like surprising weird conversation. My friend said like this tree was hitting on her at one point.
Wow.
It's like, well, hello. You really? Yeah, kind of, and just various different, yeah, tree versations. So,
Conversations, the
yeah,
best.
yeah. I have a whole book of conversations with trees. Someone who wrote like all these
Wow.
different essays on. I think it's just called Conversations with Trees.
I would like to read that book.
I'll look for it and send you the info on it. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have any guidance for our audience who may not know what you're talking about and or how to begin a practice of having conversations either with, with the unseen world?
Yeah, the first piece is just to slow way down. I recommend being in nature, ideally in a relatively quiet place where there are not other people around, and just inviting your own nervous system and being to attune to the frequency of the woods around you. Or it could be like a body of water, just like slowing down enough and kind of listening, listening for whatever is the smallest sound, and just like getting your whole system really quiet and slow and connecting with your breath. It helps me to close my eyes. Um, yeah, and then to just like with no expectation, just like invite a wise, loving, benevolent, unseen spirit being or a spirit of the land around you to offer guidance or support. And then whatever comes next, it's really different for different people. I tend to hear like clairaudience is a strong clair sense for me. Some people are more clairvoyant. They might like see images. Um, some people might like feel different sensations in the body. There's lots of different ways of perceiving, but um, to just like stay present with whatever is coming and practice welcoming whatever is coming and not second guessing it. And to just keep returning to that practice. And for me now, it's been like several years of just like being in that practice of inviting support and guidance to come and then just being still and receiving whatever is coming. I now often will like check in. Now I have kind of a team of spirit guides or supports who I'll check in with when I start hearing a voice coming. I'm like, is this a voice I should actually listen to, you guys? Because sometimes there are also not super benevolent spirit beings who might want to like get on up in your head. So yeah, I'll double check with my team, like, is this aligned for me to be connecting with right now? And if I'm getting like thumbs up, green lights, I'll listen for whatever's next.
Do you check in with your guidance team for making decisions?
Yes, constantly. Yeah, more and more. And I think the plant medicine has also like helped me open the channel for more like kind of seamless, just like aligning my life with the guidance like intuitively, without without my head and my thoughts getting so in the way and derailing just whatever is the flow of alignment. But I definitely still check in all the time to be like, is this like my ego dragging me off the path in a direction that's not great? Or is this actually what I'm called to do? And it's been very helpful to be able to lean more on that team.
Amazing. And with no expectation, is there anything you think that they would want to share with people? Anything that you think they would like people to know?
What I'm hearing is just this reminder that I so often need, and that I think others do as well. That's just like, there's no one right way. And yeah, to practice trusting in each moment the emerging of what is right in the moment, but that there's not like a formula that's going to apply to every circumstance. And the practice is just slowing down enough and listening to what we're called to express, or if we're not called to express, if we're called to listen, whatever is the invitation in the present moment that is alive and evolving. Yeah. And the practice, again, is just the slowing down and the trusting whatever we're receiving. Yeah.
Thank you, guides. Rena Branson, thank you so much for joining us on the Spiritual Bypass Hour. What an honor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia, for having me.